There are expensive things, and then there's rhodium, a metal so pricey it makes gold look like spare change you find in your couch cushions. A metal you've probably never touched, never seen, and yet somehow it's worth tens of thousands of dollars per ounce. Which raises a very reasonable question. Who decided this shiny mystery rock gets to be richer than everyone else? I'm Professor Everything, and today we'll be answering the question, why is rhodium so expensive? Right here on Explaining Everything. Rhodium is one of those elements that sounds fake, like something a sci-fi writer made up at 3 a.m. Captain, the ship is running low on rhodium. But no, it's very real, and your wallet deeply respects it. Rhodium belongs to the platinum group metals, which already puts it in a pretty exclusive club. But even inside that club, rhodium is the quiet billionaire sitting in the corner, saying nothing, wearing nothing flashy, and somehow owning the building. Here's the wild part. Rhodium isn't just rare, it's absurdly rare. We're talking about annual global production measured in dozens of tons, not thousands. If gold is a crowded concert, rhodium is a private karaoke night where only 12 people were invited and 3 didn't show up. And unlike gold, rhodium doesn't form neat little nuggets waiting to be discovered. It hides inside other metals. You don't mine rhodium directly. You accidentally find it while mining something else. That alone makes supply limited. But limited supply doesn't automatically mean insane prices. The real madness starts when you realize how impossible it is to increase that supply. Let's say rhodium prices skyrocket, which they absolutely do. Normally, higher prices mean producers rush in, mine more, and calm things down. Rhodium laughs at that logic, because rhodium is a byproduct. Its supply depends entirely on how much platinum and nickel are being mined. If demand for rhodium doubles tomorrow, miners can't just flip a switch and go, "All right, boys, let's mine some extra rhodium." That switch does not exist. To make this even more fragile, most of the world's rhodium comes from South Africa. When one country dominates supply that heavily, every labor strike, power outage, or logistical hiccup sends prices into a panic spiral. Rhodium markets don't react. They overreact. This is why rhodium prices don't gently rise. They spike, they jump, they scream. At one point, rhodium shot past $30,000 per ounce, making gold look like it needed financial advice. And when prices move like that, the metal stops behaving like a material and starts behaving like a rumor. Now here's where rhodium really earns its price tag. Rhodium is extremely good at one very important job: helping reduce harmful nitrogen oxide emissions in vehicle exhaust systems. And it's not just good at it, it's irreplaceably good at it. As governments around the world tightened emissions regulations, car manufacturers didn't get a choice. They couldn't substitute, downgrade, or figure something else out later. They needed rhodium, and they needed it immediately. Here's the problem. Demand surged, but supply stayed stuck. So manufacturers were essentially fighting over crumbs while the price chart went vertical. And unlike luxury goods, this demand isn't driven by trends or hype. It's driven by laws. When regulations say emissions must be lower, rhodium demand doesn't politely ask permission. It just shows up. Even as electric vehicles grow, internal combustion engines aren't disappearing overnight. Hybrids still rely on rhodium. Millions of vehicles are still being produced every year. So demand stays stubbornly high, even when people assume it should drop. Now take all of that: rare supply, inelastic production, mandatory demand, and drop it into a tiny market. Rhodium isn't traded like gold or silver. There's no massive futures exchange smoothing things out. Prices are often determined through private contracts and specialized dealers. That means transparency is limited and volatility is king. In a big market, one large buyer barely causes a ripple. In rhodium's market, one major purchase can feel like someone cannonballed into a kiddie pool. This is why rhodium prices don't just fluctuate. They lurch. They surge upward, crash downward, and then surge again like they forgot where they parked. And when something small, shiny, and unbelievably valuable exists in car parts, it leads to a very unfortunate side effect: catalytic converter theft. Rhodium didn't ask to become a crime motivator, but here we are. It's one of the rarest elements on Earth, locked behind another metal's production, sourced from a fragile supply chain, demanded by strict global regulations, and traded in a market so small that it overreacts to everything. Rhodium doesn't want attention. It doesn't need marketing. It just quietly sits there, being essential, being scarce, and being outrageously expensive. And now you know why. If you learned something new about the everyday mystery that secretly controls the world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please don't steal them. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.